Okay, so it has been a while, about 10 days, since I've been able to come back to this painting. So when the paint has dried like this, to get back to painting it, it's a nice idea to put a medium over the top. And if you remember, I was using the number 2 medium, which is equal parts turpentine and equal parts linseed oil or stand oil, depending on what you're using. So I think I'm going to just do a little wash. Over the top, kind of scrub it in. So what I'm actually doing is just putting a little bit on the brush. It's not dripping down, as you can see. It's just in the bristles, and I'm going to be going over the top, just kind of scrubbing it in. You don't want the canvas to get oily.
So it's a matter of putting just a little bit on.
And this will just kind of make it feel like it's like the paint is still workable. It kind of blends the dry with the new set of paint that I'll be using. Don't want it to be runny, just you want to feel like it's damp. So the first thing that I'm going to do before I actually start painting is assess where I am right now, because it has been a few days, 10 days since I've been at this painting. And I have the basic shape and form and composition that I'm looking for in this work. Some things that I need to be aware of. One is immediately this point here, this rock, and this little thing pointing up. This rock is there in the scene. It's behind this this form, this shape, but it is distracting. Remember, I'm going to be making this area my focal point, and so this will take away from it, and I'm going to work with that, tone it down, take it out, mellow it out, push it more into the background. I'm not quite sure, but this is one area. And this area up here too, is I've got that as well, which I have to work on. The peninsula back here, this is the Sithonia Peninsula. It's the second finger of Halkidiki, where I live. I think that's working fine. It's far away, but still close enough. So it's not too far in the distance. I guess it's about, I could be wrong, I guess I want to say about 9 miles away. the sun is over in this area, so in my sky, this area will be lighter and warmer blues, moving towards cooler blues as it goes farther away from the sun. And then we have the dome of the sky, which means that the blues up on top are darker and they get lighter as they go down. That creates also the dome or the background effect or the sky effect. And my water here I want to work on. I think I'm going to try and work on some of that today. And get moving a little bit more forward with that. So I'm going to start by mixing my ultramarine blue, mixing some white, and I put in a little bit of burnt umber to tone down the blue so that it's not glaring. I like that tone, the dull blue. Now, the Aegean Sea is very blue sea in midday and early afternoon. This is moving towards late afternoon. The sun is beginning to go down. It's not quite sunset time to make things very orange. But the sun is getting weaker, and what happens with that is the blues, that beautiful turquoise blue that we normally have during the day, mellows out quite a bit. And I need to make sure that I'm not painting this intense blue. And water, if you think of water as a mirror, then that really helped me quite a bit for painting the sea. I had a very hard time painting water, and sometimes still struggle. I'm using a little bit of the medium. In this area, some of the rocks are coming out of the water, some are in. I don't want to have it too jumbled, too much. So I'm going to put some of the rocks underneath and leave some out. This whole area is to direct the eye and create interest for the viewer. Now, the sea where I live here in this area is very calm. So I have a sense of the water right now. And want to work a little bit on the pattern of how I want the eye to bring in. Some of the rocks will be coming out of the water. Some will be underneath. I'm going to return and start painting with thicker paint now that I have a basic structure of how I want the painting to go. So going in with the sky color, I'm using cobalt blue, especially near in this area, and moving it more towards ultramarine blue as I go farther away from the sun. Right now I'm just having cobalt blue and white that I'm mixing. You can hear the palette. I'm sorry I don't have a camera for my palette yet. That's coming. I'm adding Indian yellow to my sky mix.
So I'm going to get some paint on that.
Here I've got the ultramarine blue, and I'm just going to blend the two together. I've got a little bit of a glare here from the light from my window, the balcony door that's right over there. However, in the I kind of like how it's looking. It just kind of brings the eye over into this area here as an afterthought. Because after you get to the focal point, everything else is leisurely travel throughout the painting. So again, like I was saying before, you want up the sky that's closest to us is always darker, a deeper blue. And I want to make sure that I'm incorporating that. So you can see that the sky is getting a sense of depth. We don't usually look at the sky and think of a dome, but that is what it is, and it is how we need to paint it. And here's the other thing. I'm going to get a new brush. The farther away that whites are to us, the more yellow they become. So I'm going to make a very mild yellow tinted white, yellowish, and I'm using the cadmium yellow for this, and also a tad of the Indian yellow. I'm going to bring some of the sky down into this back area. Just to push it a little bit farther back. So for the next stages of this work, I'm going to be putting it on the time lapse. Basically when I'm at this stage, everything is kind of figured out, and what's left is just going over and doing thicker layers of paint. There'll be no major changes. I'll be adding a few rocks and working on the water and defining these areas more, especially the focal point, because right now it's not a focal point, it's just there. And it needs work. And so that's what we're gonna do in this section. And I'll be coming back in when I get into, if there's an important area of the painting that I want to talk to you about, then I will move back into, if there's an important area that I need to talk to you about, I will put it back into, I just did the same mistake. Yeah. Okay, so I've got it in time lapse now. I'm just going over the same areas and adjusting
and fixing some certain things. As you can see, I took out those two lumps, and the lower one I'm going to try and keep in. I may take it out later depending on how it works. And moving in, trying to fix the same shapes that I had in those rocks here in the focal area, and adjusting the sizes to make it more imbalanced. Um, and establishing some of the greens, and moving towards the front rocks. I'll be going over again and doing some adjusting.
So the first thing that I want to establish is the depth, the sea being forward in the foreground and slipping into the background the farther that we go back to those distant hills. And I'm adding a lot of different colors, trying to get the sense of rocks the underneath the surface. And most important is creating a pathway, visual pathways that will lead towards my focal area. And you can see I'm doing that right here, trying to get near the large rock pathway going, and also towards the far right corner, another pathway going. I'm cooling down the back rocks to push it farther into the background and having it feel like it's turning towards us, and then just taking care of a few things on the focal area. Okay, so I went over it again, and I got my the C basically established. Um, there's still work to be done, but really not that much. I need to get the details down and really bring out my focal area. I always leave it for the last, um, almost always leave it for the last thing that I do. Um, other methods are to establish the focal point right away and then work around that. Um, I guess I do that as well, but in this one, uh, what I like to do now in where I am today as an artist is establish everything and have it all be connected and working well together. And then I emphasize the focal area to bring it out just a little bit more. When I began painting, and if you are in the beginning stages, I highly suggest that you do the opposite of that and create first the focal point and paint it right away, and then work from there, work outwards from there, and connecting and creating all the different areas of your painting, your background, your middle ground, and your foreground, and doing it that way. When you get established as a painter, if you are established as a painter, there are, of course, many different ways that you can move around to your main focal area, and if you're even beyond that, you can release the idea that you have to have a specific focal point. When you can get everything else working together in your painting well enough, you do not need a focal point. But as beginners, it's vital, because it will be your point in which everything else moves around and connects to, and you through practice begin to develop knowing and an understanding of how a painting works. Not just if it looks like a pretty painting, like you managed to paint what you were looking at, or it happened to turn out okay, but you know why. You know how to manipulate elements that are not working in your painting, because you're able to see what's not working in your painting. So my own personal idea is that you focus on your focal point first. I'm going to do another round tomorrow. The sun is getting too low right now, and begin to put it all together as the last part of this series. I guess it's an 8-part series. Yeah, I'm satisfied right now. I never get excited until I sign my name. And then I stand back and look at it and say, what worked with this painting? What didn't work with this painting? What do I need to be more aware of next time? So in my mind, it's not a matter of painting a nice painting, which of course is wonderful when I do. It is more of the process of pulling away, taking a different perspective, learning how to see things differently. And that helps me in my daily life, helps me to see my own problems in my daily life, the things that I have to deal with from a different perspective, a more creative way to approach something. You know, maybe this kind of brush stroke with thick impasto would work there. And, you know, I kind of bring the two into my daily life as well. So that's it for today. Thanks so much for following me along this far. I highly appreciate it. Don't forget to click the subscribe button so that you are notified when I have a new video coming out. Have a great, great, great day.